The air reeked of blood and scorched earth. Bodies sprawled across the barren sands of the Karakum Desert, their lifeless forms tangled in a grotesque tapestry of war. The year was 1221, and the once thriving cities of Turkmenistan had become graveyards under the shadow of Genghis Khan's ruthless campaign. A soldier's severed arm clutched the shattered remnants of a spear. It was buried in the chest of an enemy whose face was locked in a silent scream. The ground, once dry, now slick with crimson, pooling in the footprints of retreating survivors. From the dunes emerged a lone figure, her face hidden beneath a tattered veil, her hands trembling as she cradled a dying child. She staggered through the wasteland, her sobs drowned by the mournful howl of the desert wind. Behind her, a towering pyre of bodies smoldered. Black smoke was spiraling into the heavens. It was a beacon of annihilation. The cries of vultures echoed overhead, circling the carnage like specters of death. The sands whispered ancient curses, as if the desert itself mourned the cycle of conquest and bloodshed. Beneath the scorched ground, the bones of past wars lay undisturbed, waiting for their moment to rise again. This was Turkmenistan, a land scarred by centuries of conflict, its history etched in the flesh and bones of the fallen. Welcome back, time travelers, to another gripping episode of the Time Machine Diaries. Today, we're heading to Turkmenistan. Now stop everything you're doing. Could you find it on a map? 'Cause I couldn't. A land of haunting beauty and enigmatic history, where the sands have soaked up centuries of blood, secrets, and survival. You just heard a glimpse of the horrors that unfolded in the 13th century, when Genghis Khan's forces swept through this region. Only thing left in their wake? Devastation. But Turkmenistan's story doesn't begin or end there. This is a land that has stood at the crossroads of history. From the bustling routes of the Silk Road to the rise and fall of empires. It's a place where the past whispers through its ancient ruins, and the present dazzles with golden palaces and white marble cities. But is this shiny facade hiding something deeper? Let's go back in time. Let's uncover the tales of the warriors, mystics, and the curse of the gates of hell. Turkmenistan's history stretches back to one of the earliest known civilizations, the Margiana region. Around 2500 BCE, the Margush people flourished in an oasis near the Murghab River, building elaborate cities with temples, palaces, and irrigation systems. Archaeologists believe Margush might be one of the oldest centers of civilization, rivaling Mesopotamia and Egypt even. Here's the catch. No one knows why this civilization vanished. Was it a drought? Invasion? Were they aliens? Excavations have revealed scary burial sites with perfectly preserved artifacts almost as if the people left in a hurry or were wiped out. The sands of Margiana keep their secrets close to the chest. Fast forward to the height of the Silk Road, where Turkmenistan became a critical crossroads for trade. Cities like Merv, known as the Queen of the World, thrived as bustling hubs for merchants, scholars, and adventurers. But Merv's prosperity came at a price. In 1221, Genghis Khan's forces descended upon the city like a horde of locusts, massacring anything they could get their hands on. It was actually one of the bloodiest sieges in history. Some chronicles claim over 1 million people in one day. Merv went from being a jewel of the Silk Road to a ghost town overnight. Yeah, I get it. You kill 1 million people. I ain't trying to live in that fucking city. Today, its ruins remain. It's a haunting reminder of the fragility of human achievement. Today, Turkmenistan is one of the most enigmatic countries in the world. It's also known for its famous, or should I say infamous, eccentric leadership. Saparmurat Niyazev, the country's first president, he left a bizarre legacy. Golden statues of himself, renaming months after his family, and even banning ballet and beards. So total psychopath shit. His successor continues this tradition of extreme control, making Turkmenistan one of the most isolated nations in the world. But for all its modern quirks, the land's history still looms large, reminding us that even as regimes rise and fall, the sands of Turkmenistan remain eternal. Turkmenistan is a land of paradoxes, ancient yet modern, hidden yet monumental, serene yet fiery. Its history is a tapestry woven with stories of resilience, innovation, and tragedy. If the sands of the Karakum Desert could speak, what would they reveal? What other secrets lie buried? What's waiting for us to find? As always, the past isn't just history. It's a mirror reflecting our own hopes, fears, and ambitions. Arslan the historian. Arslan was a reserved yet passionate historian dedicated to uncovering Turkmenistan's forgotten past. His tireless research often led him to the desert's uncharted regions, where secrets were buried. While exploring an ancient ruin rumored to hold the cursed remains of a Silk Road caravan, Arslan triggered a trapdoor. He fell into a pit of sharpened bones, the remnants of past victims. His screams echoed in the hollow chambers as the bones pierced his body, leaving him a permanent part of the ruins he sought to uncover. Then you have Layla the smuggler, a cunning and fearless black market dealer. Layla specialized in rare artifacts stolen from Turkmenistan's sacred sites. Her greed knew no bounds, and she thrived on the thrill of danger. While transporting an artifact stolen from the Darvaza gas crater, Layla's vehicle mysteriously stalled. A sudden burst of fire erupted from the crater, engulfing her in flames. Locals claim her screams blended with the roaring inferno, and her ashes were swept into the burning pit, never to be found. Then we have Rahim, the engineer. A brilliant yet skeptical engineer, he was sent to investigate unexplained seismic activity near the Karakum Desert. He believed science could explain all mysteries. While descending into the cavern to inspect strange tremors, Rahim found himself trapped. The walls of the cavern began to move, revealing a nest of ancient parasitic worms. The creatures burrowed into his skin, consuming him from the inside out. His hollowed-out corpse was later discovered, with the worms still writhing within. And we have Nurjan, the mystic, a spiritual healer who is rumored to have ties to dark ancient forces. Nurjan claims she could communicate with spirits and had the power to cleanse curses. During a ritual to banish evil from a cursed village, Nurjan misread the omens. Instead of driving the darkness away, she invited it in. Her body twisted unnaturally as unseen forces tore her apart piece by piece. Witnesses fled in terror, swearing they saw her soul devoured by shadowy figures before her body disintegrated into dust. Then we have Bekmurad, the politician. Bekmurad was a corrupt official who exploited the people of Turkmenistan, hoarding wealth and silencing dissenters. His greed made him powerful, yet despised. One night, Bekmurad was found dead in his marble mansion. His body was bloated and discolored, his mouth frozen in a scream. Upon closer inspection, investigators discovered his stomach was filled with gold coins, forced down his throat until he suffocated. A poetic end fitting for his greed. 2,500 years ago, ancient Turkmenistan, Margiana. The desert winds howled through the twilight, carrying the scent of scorched earth and the cries of the defeated. Arazim, a young warrior of the Margush civilization, knelt in the ruins of his once thriving city. His bronze breastplate was cracked, blood seeping through the jagged tears in his tunic. Around him, the bodies of his comrades lay scattered like broken dolls, their lifeless eyes staring into the abyss of the heavens. Arazim clenched his trembling fists, his fingers caked with dust and blood. In his grasp was the artifact that had doomed them all, a jagged obsidian tablet etched with symbols that glowed faintly, pulsing like a heartbeat. He had stolen it from the forbidden crypts beneath the temple of the desert gods, defying the warnings of the elder priests. Power enough to save us from our enemies, they had said, or to destroy us all. The ground beneath him rumbled. Arazim raised his head, his breath caught in his throat. The massive ziggurat at the city center, once a beacon of Margiana's glory, now spewed thick black smoke. From its peak, tendrils of shadow writhed and twisted, descending like serpents to devour anything in their path. A chilling voice echoed through the wind, neither man nor beast, but something ancient and otherworldly. You sought dominion over the gods' domain. Mortal, now reap the harvest of your hubris. Arazim staggered to his feet, clutching the tablet. His mind raced with desperation. He had hoped to use its power to repel the invading nomads, to protect his people. But instead, he had unleashed an unstoppable force, a curse that consumed not only his enemies, but everything he had vowed to protect. The shadows crept closer, swallowing buildings and screams of survivors. Arazim's vision blurred with tears as he screamed into the encroaching darkness. "Spare them! Take me instead!" The voice laughed, cruel and deafening. "Your sacrifice is meaningless. This land is mine now." In a final act of defiance, Arazim raised the tablet high above his head. With a roar, he slammed it against the jagged rocks, shattering it into shards that scattered like obsidian stars. The glowing symbols flickered and died, and for a moment, the shadow hesitated. But the price of his defiance was steep. Arazim's body convulsed as the curse consumed him, turning his flesh to ash and his bones to dust. The last thing he saw was the horizon aflame, his city swallowed whole by the vengeance of the gods. As his soul faded into the void, the desert fell silent. The ruins of Margiana were left to the sands, its story lost to time, until the cursed whispers began anew, centuries later. Thanks for traveling through time with us today. Until next time, keep your eyes on the horizon and your mind on the past. This is the Time Machine Diaries. I'm Colin, signing off.